So you look at what Josh Allen's done. He still, to me, is the MVP right now.
There's a reason why Vegas has Patrick Mahomes as the MVP frontrunner right now.
Baker Mayfield is your MVP of the NFL season.
I would choose Daniel Jones right now. I would choose Daniel Jones.
We know nothing about this NFL Oh, wait, I already did that video. This one is different, okay? We don't know who the best player is this season right now. And by best player, I mean most valuable player. And by that, we're almost always referencing a quarterback, right? But this year is truly special because not only do we not know who the best quarterback is that would qualify as the MVP by season's end, we've got some other players, yes, non-quarterbacks, the disgusting non-quarterbacks, the skill players, dare I even say a defensive player, who are making a case as the most valuable players in the league right now. It really is that messy and fun right now, and the only reason the door is open is because the quarterback race isn't a sprint between the big four, Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, and Jackson. This season, we've got two cast-off QBs in the mix for MVP, a former two-time winner, a surprise second-year man who's taking the league by storm, and dare I say a running back? Maybe a receiver? Anyway, the NFL hasn't had a non-QB win MVP since 2012 when Adrian Peterson won the award with his 2,000-yard season in Minnesota. Since 1986, the award has only gone to either a quarterback or a running back, and Lawrence Taylor was the last defensive player to win it back in '86. We all know the way it works now, though, right? QB gets MVP, and then a skill player and defensive player get offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year. But maybe, just maybe, this one time, quarterbacks can go fuck themselves. Welcome to That's Good Sports, where I, Brendan Perna, football bastard, will make a case for some of the fun players emerging this year for MVP. Right after I ask you to subscribe. The goal is 8:15 by the end of this week into October. Can't we do it? Whew. Today's episode sponsored by Prize Picks, and it's crunch time to use my code TGS when you sign up. We are 40 signups away from me getting my next bonus here at That's Good Sports, and 540 away from 3,000. If I hit 6,000 signups by the Super Bowl, I'll go to Kansas City, maybe bringing the TGS crew with me, and I'm gonna spend a stupid amount of money at the disgusting Mahomes and Kelsey restaurant and make a video about it. I do regret promoting the max discount for Steph Curry after what he did to my Nuggets, and I'll be letting Prize Picks know that they cursed my team. 3,600 of you are following me already on Prize Picks. If you follow me, you can see my lineups, and with 9 wins this year, you might even want to copy my lineups and play with them. Here's my lineups for Sunday. My hot tip is more yards for Jamar Chase with Sauce Gardner out for the Jets. And God bless your usernames. Well, not you, Knicks picks or Bover throwing, but as the Pern turns, notice me, Perna? Noticed? Forever in Pernatory? Oh no, not Bonsi Chillups. We ride Big Knicks, Tim Tebow clip, and Perna non grata. Prize Picks, code TGS, link in the description. Play responsibly. To understand the unique opportunities NFL players have to win the award this year, let's look at who was picked to win it before the season started. That should tell us how crazy football really is. Looking back at the preseason odds, it's funny how clear the picture seemed and how little it actually told us. Lamar Jackson opened as the MVP favorite at plus 450, and at the time it felt like a safe bet. Just remember in life, kids, there are no safe bets.
I do the best I can and let the chips fall where they may. You know that about me by now, quick.
So what happened was,
he was coming off a season where he easily could have been MVP if not for Josh Allen's surge. The Ravens looked loaded, and Lamar, well, he's been as consistent as it comes as a quarterback since 2019. The narrative was right there for the taking. Baltimore had a gauntlet of a schedule, and if they came out the other side with 12 or 13 wins, there was no way voters were going to snub Lamar again. Well, it turns out you need two things to win MVP. You need a defense to help you win a few freaking football games, and you need to stay healthy. As it turns out, neither of those things have happened for Lamar, and he's already out of the running. Bam, just like that. The favorite goes down, and his goal is to try and make sure the Ravens don't end up with 12 or 13 losses at this point. Then there was old Joey Burrow at plus 600 sitting right behind Lamar, which also made perfect sense. He had led the league in passing yards and touchdowns the year before, and Cincinnati's offense looked terrifying on paper again. Every time Burrow's healthy, he's in the conversation, right? It was just a matter of whether the Bengals could win enough games to make his numbers actually matter. Then, like Lamar, Burrow goes down with an injury, and now the Bengals are an offensive juggernaut of massive proportions with one Joseph Flacco. And Flacco has been so good in the jungle that we're now wondering if Mr. Burrow even gets his job back when he's healthy. Hammurabi once said, eye for an eye. Well, Harambe, R.I.P. from Cincinnati, says, Joe for a Joe. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes both hovered around plus 650, the perpetual co-favorites who always make sense, even when the storyline fatigue sets in. Mahomes fatigue is a real thing. It's the reason Michael Jordan ceded the NBA MVP to Karl Malone in 1977.
He got a 13-year-old pregnant.
But fast forward to the midpoint of the season, and Mahomes is very much in the thick of the race. We'll get to that later, though. Jayden Daniels at plus 750 was the wild card. A year earlier, he was the Offensive Rookie of the Year, who marched through the playoffs and rejuvenated football in our nation's capital.
His name is Jesus Daniels. He's the savior of the franchise. Fuck Detroit!
And sportsbooks were entertaining the idea of linear progression, a fallacy that we've learned is exactly that, a fallacy. Daniels has been injured twice now on the season, and even when he has played, he has not looked quite as good as he did this time a year ago. Safe to say he's not going to win MVP, and we're all just hoping history does not repeat itself in Washington. And yes, I mean the Dems rolling out 86-year-old Joe Biden as the best option to be the Commanders quarterback in 2028.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
He was literally a commander and chief, just like Alex Smith before him. And for all the QB dominance in the MVP odds, Saquon Barkley's 40-1 odds stood out just because he was the only non-QB even close to the top 25. That pretty much said it all about where the league is and what the MVP has become, right? Running backs can light up the stat sheet, win fantasy leagues, and drag bad offenses to respectability, but unless you're a quarterback, you're a second-class citizen in the NFL. Upon reflection, Saquon not winning the award in 2024 probably means we will never, ever see another non-quarterback win ever again. I'd argue his 2,000-yard season was more impactful than the last running back winner in Adrian Peterson. Now, Vikings fans, you don't have to agree with that. That's okay. But we can all agree nobody has had a better chance than Saquon did in 2024, and he received 0 first-place votes, but was third in points, voting points overall. What does that mean? Well, you have to look at the non-quarterbacks in the MVP race as a third political party.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
Even though they might be what you really want, you refuse to waste your first place vote on them because you're scared Josh Allen won't win if you vote for Saquon Barkley. And in 2025, Saquon's regression has him out of the race altogether. The Eagles, after dropping a couple games and hitting a rut, have rebounded, but surprisingly, little of their bounce back has to do with Barkley. The best running back in the league from a year ago has just 369 yards on 113 carries. The fall off has been staggering, and we don't really have a good reason for it. But he's surely not taking home any hardware this year unless his Eagles repeat to Super Bowl champs and he breaks the single season rushing record after this bad start. And I only say all of that about Saquon Barkley because I believe if anybody can do it, it's him. But looking back, all of those odds felt like a snapshot of the NFL's balance of power more than a true prediction of who'd win. But this year, with all of the chaos, I think the MVP race has jumped wide open. And I will present you with my new favorites, according to me, and of course to the odds makers as well. And as it stands right now, yes, Patrick Mahomes has pulled into familiar territory on top. Oh, awesome. How original. He's sitting at plus 125 after piling up 18 total touchdowns and nearly 1,800 passing yards through 7 weeks. The Chiefs stumbled early, but after winning 4 of their last 5 and absolutely dismantling the Raiders 31-0, Mahomes' odds tightened up from plus 185 last week. It's the same story we've seen before. Kansas City fixes its mistakes. Patrick Mahomes looks mortal for about 2 games and 2 games only, and then suddenly he's back to making everyone else play catch up and question their own faith in God. And now, with Rashee Rice back in the lineup, Mahomes is looking closer to his 2022 form, the second and most recent time he won the award. Even though he's the leading candidate, he's simply not the story. Well, neither is the second guy. Yes, Josh Allen, who's right behind Mahomes at plus 360. Seems kind of high for Josh Allen right now. He's trying to defend the crown he finally won last year. He was a little bit like Leonardo DiCaprio winning Best Actor for The Revenant. Was it Josh Allen's best performance? I don't really know, but I'm happy he won. Josh's numbers are honestly modest this season. 11 passing touchdowns, 3 more on the ground, and Buffalo's inconsistency is keeping the door cracked open. Not closed, but not wide open. A bad loss to Atlanta did not help, especially after Atlanta shat the bed against the 49ers a week later, and with Mahomes and the Chiefs looming in Week 9, this stretch feels like a make-or-break moment for Josh Allen's repeat hopes. I'll be clear, I don't agree with these odds. Mahomes has turned it around, but the Chiefs and Bills aren't even atop the AFC. Hell, the Chiefs aren't even atop the AFC West at the time of this video anyway, and Justin Herbert is the leading passer in the division, not Mahomes. Herbert, after a stellar Thursday night game against the Vikings, could be the darkest dark horse quarterback candidate for MVP. Nobody's talking about him as one. But if the Chargers ultimately finish atop the AFC West and Herbie's passing numbers hold, he's going to get MVP votes. What I am impressed by is that Herbert is keeping LA in the mix despite playing through most of the season without his top 2 tackles, while also watching the running back room get whittled down to RB number 3. He's starting to run more, which a bunch of rushing yards on top of insane passing yards by season's end could help his case. As soon as he got Joe Alt back to protect him, Mekhi Becton got hurt, and LA still put up 37 on the Vikings. Outside of numbers, if Herbert keeps mitigating disasters, I like him late in this season. Then we have the people's choice, Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
His odds have already gone for a ride. They're down again. He briefly jumped Josh Allen on the board before tumbling back to plus 700 after the Lions took care of business against the Bucs. Mayfield's 28-50 performance for 228 and a lone touchdown wasn't disastrous, but it cooled off the Bucs hype train just a bit. Still, sitting at 5-2, he's more than in the conversation than anyone expected 2 months ago. And here's why Baker is currently my MVP. He is the definition of most valuable. A Bucs receivers room. It's been decimated, and he's still throwing seeds to 2 rookie wide receivers, Emeka Egbuka and Bo Nix's adopted brother, Tez Johnson. And Tez, maybe the MVP chants worked for you last time, but now you know that everyone's going to chant MVP whenever you catch a ball going forward.
I'm like, Shep, they was chanting MVP, and he was like, yeah. I was like, I ain't do nothing this year. And then he was like, they talking about Baker, Tez. And I was like, well, that explains it.
And the more people hear MVP chants through the course of a game, the more it's going to help Baker Mayfield have a chance to win it. That's not so subliminal messaging, but I think it works. Tez was a 7th round draft pick too, and Baker's making a lot of teams look dumb for passing on the slender man. Then there's Drake Maye, who's quietly building one of the most interesting MVP cases out there. The rookie has New England at 5-2, and he has thrown for the 8th most yards in the league. But he also has the highest EPA for any QB right now. His Week 7 masterpiece, 21-23 for 222 yards and 2 scores, rocketed him from plus 1,800 to plus 850. That's a huge jump after one game. Nobody saw that kind of efficiency coming this is soon for Drake.
Yeah, Drake! Drake!
And it's clear the Patriots have something real brewing with the young quarterback, and I think Maye has a chance to win it. He's got a good narrative behind him as a second-year quarterback, putting up numbers that legitimately rival Tom Brady, and the Patriots have a cupcake schedule that could allow him to stack his numbers. Ultimately, it's going to come down to whether or not New England dethrones the Bills in the AFC East, because we have not seen a wild card MVP winner since Adrian Peterson in 2012. Winning your division is basically a prerequisite for winning MVP, especially if you're a QB. Drake Maye has something in common with Justin Herbert, too. They're the only two quarterbacks who I think are in the mix who have been sacked a lot this season. 22 sacks apiece. Mahomes, just 11. Baker, 14. Matthew Stafford, 11. Those two men are excelling under pressure in a very literal sense. How about Jalen Hurts? He's quietly putting up really nice quarterback numbers, almost no turnovers. Okay, I'm kidding. Hurts could break Peyton Manning's 55 touchdown passing record, have 800 rushing yards, and have Philly atop the NFC, and not even Eagles fans would say he's the MVP. Hurts is my favorite. No matter what he does, nobody wants to give him the proper amount of credit for being a quarterback player. So, Matthew Stafford, his name's showing up near the top. That's a nice bit of recognition for the gunslinger who's never won MVP, but he's earned it. Stafford should always be in this conversation, and it never feels like he is. But maybe this is the season he can run away with the award. The Rams are 5-2, and Stafford sitting third in the league in passing yards with his 17 touchdowns. His 5-score game against Jacksonville, even without Puka Nacua, was vintage stuff, and it bumped him all the way up to plus 1,000. Right behind him, Jared Goff at plus 1,800, steady as ever, with Detroit looking like one of the NFC's most complete teams. I would love to put Jared Goff in the mix. He deserves to be considered an MVP candidate, and he might get it if two things happen. One, the Lions win the NFC outright, and two, he has the Lions finish the season with the top 3 offense in the NFL. For Jared Goff, you make the case that he kept that ship going in the right direction after he lost the most important offensive coordinator any team has lost in probably the last 10 or 20 freaking years. But then we got a guy who, oh my God, Daniel Jones might be the biggest surprise of the bunch, right? He's at plus 2,200. The Colts are somehow a dominant 6-1 football team. And Daniel Jones putting together a clean, efficient season that feels completely different from his New York years is impressive. He's honestly a new guy. He's got nearly 1,800 yards, 14 total touchdowns, only 3 picks. He absolutely deserves to be in the conversation, even if Jonathan Taylor is probably the straw that stirs the drink in Indy. Taylor should have higher odds. He's at plus 5,000, but Lord knows the MVP voters treat non-QBs like peasants. But I'm going to make my case for Jonathan Taylor as the Colts MVP and league MVP. Jonathan Taylor has 3 or more rushing touchdowns in 3 of the first 7 games this season. He's only one of 4 players to do that, joining Derrick Henry, Priest Holmes, and Jim Brown. That's a Hall of Famer, a future Hall of Famer, and a man of the cloth. The Holy Trinity. JT was the best running back in the 2021 season, rushing for a league-high 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns. 4 years later, he's on pace for an even better season, and his value to the Colts is as high as any single player in the NFL right now. He's 100 yards ahead of the next running back. He's accounted for 11 of the Colts' 26 touchdowns. That's 42% of their TDs. He's so good, people are looking at Daniel Jones as an MVP candidate. He's the best back in the league by a fairly wide margin, especially in a year where Saquon and Derrick Henry have struggled to varying degrees, and Taylor is pacing an offense that's scoring an NFL-high 31 points per game. His closest competitor at the position is probably Christian McCaffrey, who could insert himself into the conversation if he carries the 49ers offense until Brock Purdy, if Brock Purdy ever comes back. Beyond that, Jordan Love and Dak Prescott round out the board. Love's odds sit at plus 2,800 after another inconsistent but resilient week, and Prescott's plus 3,000 mostly reflects Dallas's uphill battle in the standings more than his play. Dak Prescott's stat line, 17 total touchdowns, just 3 picks, it's right there with the best quarterbacks in the league. If the Cowboys start stringing together wins, Dak could climb quickly. Dak has also done most of his best work without the help of CeeDee Lamb, and that to me is the definition of an MVP. If I were an MVP voter right now, I honestly might be debating between Dak Prescott and Baker Mayfield, and I might give the edge to Dak. Why? He has a new head coach. He's bailing out the worst defense in the league weekly. Dallas is giving up 401 yards per game from their defense and the third most points per game at 29.4. And they are quite comically allowing the third most rushing yards per game without Micah Parsons, their liability in the run game. Micah Parsons is actually the one player I believe who could win MVP on the defensive side of the ball this season. Now, Micah does not have the sack numbers to really be in that conversation yet, but he could get there quickly by piling those up. Jordan Love is playing respectable football, but Spencer Rattler currently has more passing yards than Jordan Love, and nobody cares if Love's played in one fewer games. MVP voters are dumb, and they need to see those big, shiny stat numbers. If we're talking about the Packers defense being the reason they're a Super Bowl contender, it will be easy to point to Micah Parsons as the reason why. He wasn't there last year, right? Again, he needs to boost those sack numbers, but with players like TJ Watt, Myles Garrett not in the conversation, Parsons has the history and notoriety in the league and a very, 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 very outside chance to be the first guy since LT to be considered league MVP. Which takes me to my last guy, Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Now the chances of a receiver winning the award are about as likely as the Mafia asking Russell Wilson to lure bettors into rigged poker games.
And let the chips fall where they may.
But Jaxon Smith-Njigba is at the very least making a compelling Offensive Player of the Year campaign. He's on some Jerry Rice season type shit. And we all remember Jerry Rice as the greatest Seattle Seahawk of all time, so it makes sense. What's crazy about JSN is his efficiency as a ball catcher. On a per-target basis, so far, JSN is producing far more than any other receiver. He's getting compared to Rice's 1986 season when Jerry had 723 yards on 55 targets. Calvin Johnson in his 1900-yard season had 19 more targets than JSN at this point in the season. He also had 3 fewer touchdowns and 181 fewer yards than JSN right now. When you're talking about value, Jaxon Smith-Njigba is playing as good as any receiver ever. The only thing he's missing is Gronk saying his name wrong. And if that happens, Gronk might be canceled. But look no further than his teammate, Cooper Kupp, who also had a 1,900-yard season with the Rams, was the Triple Crown winner, and received just one MVP vote in 2021, which is one more than Seahawk Russell Wilson ever received. So it is a strange mix of players right now. The usual suspects are there with Mahomes and Allen, a couple resurgent vets in Matthew Stafford and Daniel Jones, sophomore and reclamation projects like Drake Maye and Baker Mayfield are keeping this unpredictable. The second half of this NFL season is going to tell us if another coronation for Mahomes is inevitable or if someone else can actually pry that trophy away from him. And you better get the jaws of life to grab that fucker from Mahomes' grips, because he holds that thing tighter than Taylor Swift grabs that redwood before she leaves for tour. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please let me know if I missed somebody that I should have talked about in the MVP race. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's my currency. The more subs I get, the more I can brag to my friends about how popular I am on the internet.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.